wide open. The 25th anniversary of Rogers Center is being celebrated tonight. The St. Louis Cardinals are in town, the reigning National League champs. Mike Matheny, the former Blue Jay, in his 3rd season as the skipper of the Cardinals, checking his lineup card. Take a look at the lineup for the Cardinals. Top of the order is Matt Carpenter. He's a terrific hitter. He's got a 3-game hit streak. He went 8 for 11 against the Royals in their 4-game stand. He is a tough out, and then down in the cleanup spot, Alan Craig, the first baseman. He's a career .335 hitter in interleague play. He's got 8 home runs and 30 RBIs and 155 at-bats. They're set to take on young Marcus Stroman.
Just recalled last Saturday to make his first major league start, and what a start that was. He's going to build on that one. It was outstanding. This is the second go round for Marcus. Made 5 appearances out of the bullpen in May before he was sent down. Got a couple of starts, stretched him out a little bit down in AAA. Came back up when Drew Hutchison needed a few extra days of rest, and earned his second start with that great outing. 6 innings, 5 hits, and 6 strikeouts. Outstanding work for Stroman.
Great defensive play in the outfield this year. Melky Cabrera, Anthony Gosa, and Jose Bautista from left to right. Francisco and Reyes on the left side. Laurie and Lynn on the right side. And Deanna Navarro is back behind the plate for young Marcus Stroman.
And I got a question for you, partner. Who's been playing a better right fielder in the American League than that man right there?
Nobody. He's been terrific. Every aspect, his throwing, his defense, and his positioning. He's been a true leader.
In his leadership, that's exactly right.
Here's the first pitch of the ball game. It is outside, and we are underway. Matt Carpenter, .306 average. That's 11th in the National League. He is second in hits with 74. Marcus Stroman retired the side in order in his first big league inning.
He attacked the strike zone in that last start. He worked quickly, had a good breaking ball that day.
It is 18 degrees, and it's a perfect night for baseball. Should be a good crowd on hand to all 3 games of this weekend series. Pop back out of play. Blue Jays were in Detroit for a 3-game road trip, and they swept the Tigers. An impressive showing for the Blue Jays, who are now 5.5 games up in the AL East. Full count.
This is what Carpenter does. He's in a hot streak right now. He's really seeing the ball, and that average is jumping.
Leadoff walk to Matt Carpenter. Stroman has a wide assortment of pitches, and he'll use that lively fastball.
Well, he'll use it about 60% of the time. He'll combine that with his cutter, slider, and curveball. Those are his pitches that he'll usually go to. Marcus Stroman's got a good fastball, about 94, 95 miles an hour. I think the key for him is that curveball. They're hitting just 167 against that curveball, and it was working for him last time.
The rookie Oscar Taveras steps in. Another pitch outside. Taveras was called up on May 31st, made his major league debut, and hit a home run in his first big league game.
He's got a beautiful swing. He's got an outstanding finish.
There's a high fly ball into center. Carpenter is halfway at first, goes waits on it, and Taveras is retired. Marcus Stroman checking with Reyes at second to make sure he's got the coverage on the comebacker. Again, Bautista over to check on Anthony Gosa, make sure he picked up that ball very well early in the ball game. That can be a challenge off the bat.
This time of night, the twilight, fly ball, you can't take your eyes off of it. You can get help from the corner outfielders also.
Matt Holliday, the left fielder, takes the first pitch strike. Holliday is now 34 years old. He started out with the Colorado Rockies. He's a 6-time All-Star and a 4-time Silver Slugger.
There's a surprise right there. Matt Holliday, just 3 home runs so far this year. He's had trouble getting the ball in the air.
Slider hit in the air down the right side, and that's going to drop. And it bounces into the seats. That may have saved the Blue Jays a run for the moment. Ground rule double for Matt Holliday, his 15th of the season.
Pretty good looking pitch. This is the pitch that was really working for Stroman in his last start. Breaking ball down and away, and Holliday stays right with it. That's a good piece of hitting.
Cardinals have only scored 26 runs in the first inning this season. Alan Craig mentioned his career numbers in interleague play. He's a .335 hitter against the American League. Base hit to right field. One run is in. They're waving Holliday. Here's the throw from Bautista. It is in time. Mike Matheny quickly out of the dugout. Navarro swiped Holliday as he was going by. Bautista made another strong throw, and Mike Matheny out checking with the home plate umpire, Seth Buckminster.
Before he left the dugout, he said, get a quick review on that one because I think he missed him. We'll be able to tell from the replay right here. First pitch swinging, Alan Craig right into right field. Here comes Bautista. Charges, and he's been so accurate this year. One hop to Navarro. Let's see if he gets him. Yeah, looked like he got him.
So Matheny returns to the dugout without asking for the review. Quick swipe tag by Navarro. He got him on the back before he touched home plate. 6 outfield assists for Bautista. That ties him for the major league lead.
Boy, we highlighted him on defense for that reason right there.
He saves a run. Yadier Molina is the DH tonight, batting at .299. There's a good fastball in a much better location.
Marcos was saying after his last start that he was just trying to pound the strike zone and keep it down. And he threw a lot of first pitch strikes in that start. 14 to 23 first pitch strikes.
Another good fastball. He's ahead 0-2. No walks in his first start. He has walked the leadoff man here tonight. And wouldn't you know it, it's come around to score.
Around to score. Going to have to make a good pitch against Molina. He's one of the best hitters with 2 strikes in baseball.
Yadier Molina has truly become a very good hitter. He's one of the best hitters in the National League. He's a 5-time All-Star. He's won 6 consecutive Gold Gloves, but he's also become a very tough out.
Yeah, very tough. He uses the whole field. He's hitting .287 with 2 strikes. 9th best in the major leagues.
Stays on that slider. Laurie has time. Throw to first. What a play! The defense saves a couple of runs here in the first inning. Bautista threw out a runner at the plate. Laurie shows his range going up the middle using that jump toss and throws the runner out. 1-0 Cardinals. hit 87 home runs this season. Reyes, Melky Cabrera, and then Jose Bautista, the right fielder. He's a great hitter in interleague play. He's hit 34 home runs with 87 RBIs in 136 interleague games. Brett Lawrie, he too has hit well in interleague play. .330 average with 3 homers and 17 RBIs. And this lineup is tough to shut down, and tonight Lance Lynn is presented with that challenge.
Looking to forget his last start. Lasted just 3 1/3 innings, second shortest outing of his career. Problem was he walked a season-high 4 batters and gave up a season-high 7 runs. That start came after a 5-hit shutout against the Yankees. A little inconsistency for Lynn.
Defensively, Matt Holliday, John Jay, and Oscar Taveras from left to right. Carpenter, Peralta on the left side. Descalzo at second base. Colton Wong's got a bit of a shoulder problem. Alan Craig's at first, and Tony Cruz is the catcher behind the plate.
And this is an exciting player in right field, Oscar Taveras. We're going to highlight him tonight. He's got a lot of talent.
Jose Reyes takes the first pitch downstairs for a ball from Lance Lynn. Ball and a strike. Fastball right at the top of the zone. Reyes was 3 for 14 in the Tigers series. Only has 1 at bat against Lance Lynn.
He will challenge you with a fastball, so you got to be ready for it.
Well, the Blue Jays have the reputation of loving to hit fastballs, so we'll see. Something's got to give tonight. Downstairs, it's 3-1.
Even with all the home runs that we have seen from the Blue Jays this year, their approach at the plate has been incredible. Working themselves into good counts like Jose Reyes has.
Now it's a full count. Blue Jays will make you throw some pitches. They're going to force you back over the strike zone. They rarely chase out of the zone. Ball 4. Leadoff walk for the Blue Jays. Let's go back and look at the play that ended the top half of this inning.
Watch him as he anticipates this fastball hit to his left, how he starts to lean to his left, but the ball back through the middle. This shows you the great range that Lawrie has at second base and why he's a dynamic fielder. He was anticipating that ball hit to his left, but he had the athleticism to recover and make the play.
He has really made the adjustment very effectively over to second base. Melky Cabrera, switch hitter, batting left-handed against Lance Lynn. Shows bunt and takes it downstairs. That's the remarkable aspect of this team. They've hit 87 home runs, but they're very patient, very selective.
That's what I was talking about. They can work themselves into a great hitter count, and they have an idea at the plate. They know what that pitcher's trying to do to them, and they'll build their game plan around that day's starter. Tonight, Lance Lynn, we told you, likes to throw a lot of fastballs, and he likes to get you to chase that high fastball. They're going to try and make him bring it down in the strike zone.
The defense couldn't be any more straight away. And there's a base hit past Johnny Peralta in the left. So the first 2 are aboard for the Jays. Jose Bautista has been red hot. He's hitting .320 for the season, and he's riding an 11-game hit streak.
Well, what's impressive about these numbers, you can see the great average and the on-base percentage, but the production, that's what you always want to see from your number 3, 4, and 5 hitters. He's got 11 RBIs during that 11-game hit streak with only 4 strikeouts.
He's taking his share of walks. Blue Jays are the 8th team in Major League history to have 5 players with 10 or more home runs by June 5th. The last team to do that, the 2002 New York Yankees. So the Blue Jays are in some pretty elite company. Bautista is 4th in an American League with that .320 average. Couple of power hitters, Edwin Encarnacion and Juan Francisco Melky Cabrera with the first Blue Jay hit of the night. Brett Lawrie has 10 home runs. There's that high fastball, and that's the thing Seitzer was aware of.
Yeah, he'll live up there, and he'll throw it up there. As a hitter, you see that ball coming, and Lynn's got a little bit of an extra giddy up on his fastball. It's got some late life to it. As a hitter, you see it, you think you can knock it out of the ballpark. What you have to do is you got to set your sights a little bit lower.
This is popped up back behind home plate. Tony Cruz is there and makes the catch. That ball nearly popped out of his glove. He went at it with one hand, and it just barely stayed in his glove. So that'll bring Adam Lind to the plate. And Lind has been wearing out right-handed pitching. John Gibbons has done a nice job of separating Bautista and Encarnacion, putting Lind in the middle. Lind batting .391 against right-handed pitching.
And you talk about a team that's playing straight away because he sprays the ball all over the place. Same idea. There's the infield straight away and the outfield straight away. A lot of gaps when you can hit the ball from foul line to foul line.
Boy, the Blue Jays, they were really playing into a lot of shifts early in the season. Those shifts have neutralized. Lance Lynn gets a lot of swings and misses. His velocity is 91-92. Why is he so effective with that fastball?
Because he throws, I don't want to say he slings it, but he throws it about three-quarter. And for the hitters and the ones I've talked to said the ball really surprises. It really got some giddy up on it. Some late life.
Then hit it off the end of the bat, foul. That's the one thing that's misleading about just pure velocity numbers. Every pitcher is different, and there's not a better example in baseball than Koji Uehara with the Red Sox. He throws 88, 89 miles an hour, and they don't hit his fastball.
He's got that great splitter, but Drew Hutchison, I'd put him in that class. Mark Burley.
It says pop back out of play. Burley is 10-1 with the slowest fastball average in the majors. He has had some start to his season. He's got a 2.10 ERA. He grew up a Cardinal fan outside of St. Louis. A ball and 2 strikes. Now 2-2. Encarnacion is on deck. The Blue Jay hitters just keep coming and coming.
Talking to John Gibbons about that today, about length of lineups, and it seems like once Juan Francisco was put in that lineup, Gibby felt like the team really took off offensively, that they became just a little bit more dangerous. Good pitch right on the outside part, and Lynn just took it. But you've got that length in your lineup, meaning it's hard to navigate through there. As a pitcher, you go and say, okay, if I can get through him, I can get that guy. But then I don't know if I can get this guy. Let me get down to this guy, and you can work your way through the lineup. Not too many outs in this lineup.
3-2 pitch. I'm not sure if Reyes and Cabrera are going to take off. Difficult to start the runners in this situation with Encarnacion on deck.
You're afraid of the strike him out, throw him out right here when you've got a guy on deck who can give you 3 runs with 1 swing.
Not running. Lynn protects the outside corner. Lance Lynn has allowed only 4 home runs this season, and he hasn't given up a home run in his last 7 starts. Again, something's got to give.
Doesn't give him up. Pitching against a team that leads the world in home runs.
Cardinals as a team have allowed just 40 home runs. Ball 4, that'll load the bases. Edwin Encarnacion leads the Blue Jays with 19 home runs, but it is a true murderer's row.
Yeah, look at that. 5 players in double digits in the home runs for the Blue Jays. That's what makes it so tough for pitchers. You've got to work your way through that lineup, and at any time somebody can quick strike you with that. No other major league team has more than 3 players in double digits in homers this year.
Encarnacion did not play in the series finale yesterday. Plays off that high pitch. The appeal to first. Stanfield and Publius said no swing. Edwin came out of the game on Wednesday night with a tight lower back and did not play yesterday. Blue Jays never felt it was anything serious. Cardinals lead at 1-0. Pitcher's got to be thinking, don't these guys swing at anything?
Yeah. In the past, the Blue Jays would. You'd get it close anywhere to the plate, they'd swing at it.
Reyes at third with a leadoff walk. Melky Cabrera single to left. And after Bautista popped out, Lind walked. High pop-up into shallow left field. Peralta ranging out. Shortstop is there. Reyes will hold at third. The Blue Jays have turned their fortunes around. They've swept 4 of the last 5 series. They've won 19 of 23, 14 of 16, including 5 in a row. They lead the American League in runs, home runs, total bases, and OPS. And they have the biggest division lead since '93.
How about that? Since 1993. And I think yesterday's game was a great example of what the Blue Jays have done this year as opposed to last year. They were facing Verlander, and they had already won the first 2 games in that Detroit series, and they were not going to be denied.
Juan Francisco with 10 home runs. He has 1 career grand slam. 2 outs. Francisco's a little more familiar with Lance Lynn than the rest of his Blue Jays teammates. He is 1 for 8, having spent time in the National League. He has 6 interleague home runs. He too has learned the value of patience.
Yeah, going the other way if you have to. Turning on a pitch, if you look for something down and in, see if you can hit it out of the ballpark.
He hit one out of the ballpark yesterday, the first of back-to-back home runs against Verlander in the 6th. 2-0. Two balls in his strike. Lind has thrown 26 pitches in the first.
That fastball right there, I think, surprised Francisco. 2-0 fastball count, and it ended up right down the middle as a low ball hitter. Looked like it surprised him a little bit.
Now 3-1. Laurie waits on deck. Another pop of this into left field. Matt Holliday comes in, and Lynn strands the bases loaded. The Blue Jays threaten but can't break through against the Cardinals starter. to meet with the umpires prior to the start of this game, and he, of course, was the manager of the Blue Jays in 1989 when they opened up Rogers Center. So he exchanges the lineup cards with the umpire. He was part of the pregame ceremony to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Rogers Center. It opened up on June 5th. In 1989, Cedar Gaston, of course, is one of 10 men on the level of excellence. The Blue Jays to 2 World Series, 92 and 93.
How about 913 victories as the manager of the Blue Jays? Pretty impressive.
John Jay, the center fielder, takes the first pitch strike. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Downstairs. Marcus Stroman walked the leadoff man he faced tonight, and Matt Carpenter came all the way around to score. Alan Craig with a RBI base hit to right field. There's a ball driven to left field. Melky Cabrera backs up a couple of steps and makes the catch.
Blue Jays on Sportsnet. Brought to you by the 2014 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays. And by Home Hardware, homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Beautiful Friday night in Toronto. Johnny Peralta, the shortstop, takes the first pitch outside. Peralta began his career with the Cleveland Indians. He's now 32 years old. He signed as a free agent here in St. Louis. Peralta played 8 seasons with the Indians, and then he played 4 years with the Detroit Tigers. He's got a pedigree. He's played in 45 postseason games and has 8 home runs in the postseason. Breaks his bat, and that's going to drop in front of Bautista.
In his last start, Marcus Stroman had a great breaking ball, curveball, slider, and a cutter. Watch the reaction. This is the first inning against Eric Hosmer when he strikes him out, that funky swing. He goes, wow, what a breaking ball. But he was dotting the outside corner to the right-handers with his heater. He was setting them up and then throwing them that breaking ball. You can see that sweeping slider. Haven't seen that just yet here. It's early. But that was a big pitch for him in his last start.
He was down there in the strike zone in his first start. Much more effective. Daniel Descalso starting at second base. His second start this season for the Cardinals. Colton Wong came out of yesterday's game in Kansas City with a bad shoulder. He's the regular second baseman.
No structural damage, but he aggravated it on a dive. And it hurts him at times to swing the bat.
Ball and a strike to the Cardinals second baseman. He's batting 8th tonight. Johnny Peralta with a broken bat single. He's at first. Little dribbler through the left side. That's going to sneak into left field. Descalso may have broken his bat as well. A seeing eye base hit.
Sure sounded like he broke his bat. Looked like this one, a changeup down and away. Look at that ball tumbling away from the left-hander. Looked like he hit it off the end of the bat, which he did. Somehow finds a hole by Francisco. Just under his glove.
So now it's first and second, one out. Tony Cruz, the catcher. Cruz is making his 8th start behind the plate, giving Yadier Molina the night off. Goes on the first pitch. Here's a ground ball. Lowry to Reyes, back to first, and they don't get it. Good job by Descalso, the base runner. Reyes was off stride as he came across the bag, and all I can get is the force out at second.
Small things inside a game that don't show up in the box score. This right here, it's a good feed by Laurie, but you can see Descalso really upsetting the timing at second base for Reyes. Just couldn't get anything on that throw. Keeps the inning alive.
Reyes had cleared the bag fairly well, but Descalso made him leave his feet. Back to the top of the order, Matt Carpenter. He walked and scored in the first. Carpenter rarely swings at a first pitch.
He is in a nice little hot streak right now. He has raised his batting average 50 points in his last 18 games. Says he feels good at the plate, and when you feel your best at the plate, you've got a real idea of what you can hit and what you can't hit. Right now he's hitting everything.
1-2. Had a 14-game hit streak snapped on Monday at the hands of the Royals. He's hit in 19 of his last 21 games. He's been a clutch hitter. One thing for the team overall, they haven't been as effective with runners in scoring position this year as opposed to last. 1-2.
Doesn't really overcommit. He's got a short swing. So the infield is bunching him in the middle. Brett Laurie is deep at second base. There's the defense right there. They're bunching him in the middle of the field. That's where he hits a lot of his ball.
Breaking ball, and Carpenter gets a piece of it to stay alive. Johnny Peralta's at third base. He had a broken bat single to right with one out. And then Descalso had a single. He was erased on the fielder's choice. The catcher, Tony Cruz, is at first. Oscar Taveras is on deck if Carpenter can keep the inning alive. There's a fly ball into center. Anthony Gose over to his left, and the inning is over. Cardinals leave a pair. Go to the bottom of the second, bottom third of the Blue Jays order. Second baseman Brett Laurie will start it off. Then the catcher, Deanna Navarro, and Anthony Gose.
Blue Jays on Sportsnet. Brought to you by the 2014 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
First of 3 games against the St. Louis Cardinals. The Blue Jays trail 1-0 as they bat in the bottom of the second. It'll be 7-8-9 for the Jays. Brett Lawrie, Gianna Navarro, and Anthony Gose. Lance Lynn threw 28 pitches in the first inning, but he left the bases loaded. Brett hit 2 home runs in the 3-game series against the Tigers at Comerica Park. Hit an opposite field home run against Al Albuquerque on a slider, and then took Justin Verlander deep yesterday afternoon.
You know what was impressive about those 2 swings? One of them was a slider down and away. And instead of trying to pull it, he went with it and showed the strength that he has to drive the ball out of the ballpark to right field. And then Verlander tried to come up and in, and he was quick enough to pull it out in left field. This is the home run off of Justin Verlander. It looked like a heater up and in, and he turned on it. Look how far this bad boy goes. That would have been a home run before they changed things around at Comerica. He had to knock it into the seats in left field, but very impressive hitting, being able to drive the ball to right field and the left field.
Lays off that breaking ball. That home run by Lawrie came after Francisco's home run. It was the 5th time this season Blue Jays have hit back-to-back home runs. You saw Gianna Navarro waiting on deck. Full count to Lawrie. Chases that high pitch, and that's the red flag Kevin Seitzer was concerned about.
Well, what you'll get from Lance Lynn, you'll get a good fastball. Look how many times he uses it. Almost 80% of the time, he's going to challenge you with the fastball. Up, down, in, and out with it. Slider, curveball, and changeup are the pitches that he'll use also, but he'll use that fastball. What the Blue Jays can't do is they can't chase it. I thought Jose Bautista chased a high fastball, popped it up. Edwin popped it up, and now Brett Lawrie swung through it, so you got to set your sights down.
Gianna Navarro, the catcher. Navarro was 1 for 5 in the Tigers series. Like a changeup for a strike, a ball on the strike. It's a high pop-up on another borderline pitch upstairs, and again, Lind is getting the Blue Jays to go out of their comfort zone.
You know, it looks so inviting. You know, that high fastball. You think as a hitter you could really cream it. So you got to really stay on top of it. Either keep your hands above the baseball or keep your swing above that high fastball. You either foul it back or you pop it up. If you don't, there's only a few people, I think, in baseball who are very good at hitting that high fastball. Dustin Pedroia comes to mind. He's really good at hitting that high heater.
1-2. There's that backdoor breaking ball, and Lynn records his first 2 strikeouts of the game here in the second. So Anthony Gose, the number 9 hitter and center fielder, will bat with 2 outs and nobody on. Gose had a very important at bat on Tuesday night in the 9th inning of a scoreless game. He got a leadoff walk. That keyed the 5-run Blue Jay inning.
Much better approach at the plate from Anthony. Working. Kevin Seitzer thinking about hitting the ball back through the middle, trying to use the whole field.
Well, there's a lot of late movement on that fastball, down and away. But once again, Blue Jays are chasing pitches out of the zone.
Made him work in the first inning. You mentioned it, 28 pitches in that first inning.
Oftentimes, the starter is most vulnerable in that first inning before he really zeroes in on his command and gets that release point down.
First time that he has pitched against the Blue Jays in his career. First time here, obviously, at Rogers Center.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Everything down and away with that tailing fastball action. Reyes on deck. He walked his first time up. The ball driven to left. That's over Matt Holliday's head. It's going to hit off the base of the wall. Ghost is around second. He's making the turn for third. The relay throw is not in time. Anthony Ghost with his first triple of the season.
When you use the whole field, it helps you to stay on the ball. You made the comment that Lim was staying away from him. When you use the whole field, you can reach a ball like that down and away, and Ghost jumps all over that one, drives it over Holliday's head with that outstanding speed, makes it easily into third base. Duck, duck, goose. Nice.
That's awesome. So Ghost at third base with 2 outs for Reyes. So 1-0 game. St. Louis scored in the top of the first. Blue Jays oftentimes make a pretty effective adjustment second time through the order.
You always see those hitters sitting at the end of that bench discussing their at-bats with each other. What did you see? How did he pitch you? What do you think he's going to do here? They're always talking, and if they need reinforcement, they'll just go up to that front row and they'll talk to that man right there.
The professor. Check in with him. What you got for me? 2-0, 2 outs. Inside. Another good take. Melky Cabrera singled his first time up. Four-pitch walk. Well, we talk about the Blue Jays. You look at all the numbers, and the numbers add up to a 5.5 game lead in the AL East. That's the largest lead for the Blue Jays since 1993 in the division.
You know, we talked about teams, whoever can get hot first and then sustain it and stay injury-free, you're going to have a great chance of winning the American League East. The Blue Jays have thrown the first punch, if you will, this season, that they are laying claim to this American League East. Get out in front and make everybody chase you.
62nd game of the season. The Orioles got some bad news today. Johan Santana, who was making a comeback bid, tore his Achilles tendon, and he'll be gone for the rest of the season. Melky Cabrera singled to left field his first time up. It doesn't make any difference where the Blue Jays are in their lineup. They can start a rally anywhere.
Yeah, where that rally is going to start. It can start on an error. It can start on a 2-out walk. Constantly putting pressure on the starter. This looked like it was going to be an easy inning for Lance Lynn. He's now up to 21 pitches in this inning.
Blue Jays' two best base runners on base, Gose and Reyes. Oh, and 2. Milwaukee fights it off. 94 miles an hour from Lance Lynn. Cut on and missed. Another high fastball, another strikeout. Lynn eventually strikes out the side. Anthony Gose rips one over the head of Matt Holliday and left. His first triple of the season, his 9th big league triple.
This date in Blue Jays history, June 6, 1985, and guess what happened? Buck Martinez hits a 2-run walk-off home run in the 12th inning to break up a scoreless game as the Blue Jays defeat the Tigers 2-0 and route to their first AL East title. And I'm telling you, Buck, I've seen it 100 times, and I still don't believe it's you, man.
Jimmy Key actually started that game against Dan Petrie, and it was a terrific game, scoreless into the 12th inning. I think George Bell got a base hit, and there hadn't been many base hits all night long, and I was fortunate enough to run into one.
You get it all?
I got it all.
You got it all. You hit it off a pretty good pitcher.
Aurelio Lopez, the late Aurelio Lopez, unfortunately. But that was a great rivalry, the Tigers and the Blue Jays in the mid-'80s. Oscar Taveras. Ball on the strike. Marcus Stroman. A little bit of a rough first inning, gave up a run and actually had another run cut down at the plate. Bouncing ball, Laurie way out in right field. Goes out Taveras.
Okay, we were just talking about it. Now we want to show you what we were talking about. Let's go back to that home run, Buck. Breaking ball down and in. And did you get it? All of it right there, game winner. And what's astounding, not the hit or anything like that, how about the finishing play right here? There's no jumping around and throwing water on you. It's a high five, thanks very much, and let's take it into the showers.
Back to the dugout. Yeah, there's no helmet toss or big celebration at home play. We walked off the field, and that's the way we did it.
That's awesome.
That was a fun series, and that was the first time we had met in 1985 after the Tigers won the World Series in '84. Right. Matt Holliday had a ground rule double to right his first time up. He was thrown out at home plate on another terrific throw from Jose Bautista in right. Bautista now with 6 outfield assists.
I just cannot think of anybody in the American League who is playing a better right field than Jose Bautista right now. Now, I'm not just talking about how many putouts or assists he's making, the leadership that he is showing, cutting balls off, going to his left and to his right.
That hit Matt Holliday on the left hand. You could hear that it got some of the baseball back, but it looked as though it may have clipped that fat pad on his hand.
This ball is running up and in to Matt Holliday, and he's got that left arm out over the plate. He's trying to spin out of the way, and it drills him right on the elbow.
Wow. It sounded like it hit bat. That'll give you an idea how hard it hit him. And that slow motion replay of it, boy, it really shows you how violent that was.
How about all those muscles rippling after he got hit with those, with that ball right on the elbow.
Boy, that hit him hard. So Holliday's aboard, hit by a pitch. Alan Craig had the RBI single in the first. Has another base hit to right. Almost the same thing he did in the first inning.
Celebrate and save during Home's 50th anniversary sale. Only at Home Hardware and Building Center locations. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
First and second, one out. Yadier Molina tonight, the DH. Fouls it off the glove. The Cardinals have the all-time National League leader in batting average from the DH. Pretty interesting that as a team they have carried a .308 batting average from their DHs into this game. Breaking ball. We haven't seen that good breaking ball tonight from Marcus Stroman.
Looks like he's trying to establish his fastball. He's thrown a lot of fastballs. And now after Craig hits the first fastball he sees, it looks like Stroman's trying to work that breaking ball in now.
We still haven't seen that real good biting curveball. That ball gets away, but not far enough for Holliday to take a chance as Molina strikes out. That's the first strikeout for Stroman tonight. A little bit better breaking ball, but still not that downward curveball that we've seen in the past.
That game where he pitched against Kansas City last time out, his breaking ball looked like a strike about halfway to home plate, and then it would just break right off the plate, really making the Royal hitters offer at it.
His first start was against Kansas City Royals, a team that had really struggled with the bats. It's a little bit more experienced ball club and a much more patient hitting lineup than the Royals feature. Changeup for a strike. It's 1-1 to John Jay, the center fielder. There's a little cut fastball in good spot. The Cardinals have always had a tradition of drafting and developing very well. Last year, when they played in the World Series against the Red Sox, 18 of the 25 men on their roster were homegrown. Broken bat dribble. Laurie has to come a long way, but takes his time, and the inning is over. The Cardinals leave a pair. They've stranded 5 so far tonight. When we go to the bottom of the third, it'll be Jose Bautista, then Adam Lind, and Edward Encarnacion, the middle of the Blue Jays order. In between innings, Kevin Seitzer will catch up with his hitters, especially the ones that are coming to the plate. Just a little reminder about the game plan against Lance Lynn. You mentioned that some of the Blue Jays were chasing those borderline pitches upstairs out of the zone.
Yeah, and that was the red flag. That's what he talked to his hitters about during batting practice. He throws the ball up there, and it surprises you. It's 93 or 94, but it's got some late life to it. And that fastball, you got to lay off of it and make him bring that ball down. 30% of his fastballs are going to be in the upper part of the strike zone.
Breaking ball misses on the first pitch. Came right back with it and throws a strike.
Early in the season, every team that the Blue Jays played had that exaggerated shift where the second baseman was on the left field side of the bag. Now with Bautista hitting so many balls to right field and becoming a good hitter, hitting .320 coming into this game.
High and deep to left. Kevin Seitzer had some good medicine for Bautista.
If they're going to challenge you with a fastball, you better be ready for it. Jose missed it last time up. A couple of runners on. Lance Lynn went high fastball. He ended up popping up to the catcher. This time, he stays on top of it. Look where that ball is. About belt high over the middle of the plate, and Jose with that beautiful finish hits it out of the ballpark to tie it up.
Number 15 for Bautista. It's the first home run Lynn has given up since April 24th. 8 starts. That's Bautista's 26th interleague home run since the start of 2010, the most in baseball. We're in the third inning. It's a 1-1 game. Lind walked his first time up. Lance Lynn, this next pitch will be 59.
Making it work. Getting runners on. Well, earlier before this inning started, we had a shot of Kevin Seitzer talking about Bautista, and he homered. Now you see him earlier talking to Adam Lynn, giving him the game plan. He's going to backdoor that slider. When you see it out here, look for this in this situation. Maybe the same thing will happen.
That's great. 1-2. Strike 3 call. Lynn caught looking at that pitch down and away. 4 strikeouts now for Lance Lynn. Edwin Encarnacion popped out to the shortstop in the first. It's a 1-1 game. You see Lynn trying to work that breaking ball into the Blue Jays, but he always goes back to the fastball.
Yeah, it's his bread and butter. May has been a better month for Lance Lynn by using more breaking balls than he did in the month of April.
Broken bat. That's a base hit. Encarnacion 1 for 2 so far. That'll bring Juan Francisco to the plate. He's hit 10 home runs this season, and they're all over the map.
Well, you can see from that spray chart, he really likes the ball away from him, middle away, where he can either drive the ball to left field or extend those arms on the ball in the middle. His first time up, he had the bases loaded, and Lance Lynn was able to get a fastball inside. He wasn't able to extend or get the barrel out in front. So he should look for that ball away right now.
One out. Francisco's career high in home runs is 18. He did that last year between Atlanta and Milwaukee. Good rip, and he fouled it straight back.
Yeah, that ball was away from him there where he could extend. Yesterday against Justin Verlander, watch where this one is. It looked like a changeup that stayed in the middle of the plate instead of going down and away. And it doesn't matter, fastball, curveball, slider, changeup. If it's down the middle of the plate like that, a strong man like that's going to lose it.
Blue Jays scored 3 in the fourth and 3 in the sixth off of Verlander. 0-2. Popped up. Long run for Carpenter, and it's a row into the seats, and it's beyond his reach. Jimmy Key threw out the first pitch tonight in recognition of he being the first pitcher to throw a pitch here at Rogers Center 25 years ago, celebrating the anniversary of Rogers Center. He will join us in the top half of next inning. Talk about his memories of that first game. You've got a question for Jimmy Key about that first pitch.
Yes, I do. I can't wait till he gets on here. I'm going to hold him to it, too.
Jimmy Key had an outstanding 15-year career. He'll join us after this half inning. Francisco strikes out. That's 5 strikeouts for Lynn.
Cannon's Best in Glass sales event. Performance cameras and lenses at the season's best prices. Visit canon.ca/bestinglass.
Brett Lawrie struck out on a high fastball his first time up. 1-1 game. What Kevin Seitzer is constantly preaching to his hitters is get a good pitch to hit. That's the key for anybody's success.
I think if you can use the whole field and you have simple mechanics at the plate, you can hit. Pitchers are always looking for ways to get you out. And if you have a swing that's long, or if you pull the ball too much, pitchers are going to recognize that. They're going to find those weaknesses and the holes in your swing, and they are going to attack you. They've got game plans, and they can execute game plans here in the big leagues.
That curveball missed down and away. 2 balls and a strike. Years ago, say the Cardinals came into Exhibition Stadium in the 80s. It'd take us 3-4 games to figure out what the hitter's strengths were. Now, before you ever see a team, you see video, you get scouting reports, you know everything about it.
They have the advanced scouts, and you didn't have, let's say, 25, 30 at-bats that you could look at. The advanced scout would tell you, well, this is how so-and-so pitched right-handers in the series that I saw them. Now you can go back years if you want to with the video and watch how a guy faces a right-handed batter.
Or he stays on that fastball down and away. Kevin Seitzer will put together a game plan by scouting the opposing pitcher and then identifying hitters that are similar to his hitters. And then he'll look at those various hitters around the league and say, okay, this guy hits like Lawrie, and this is how Lynn pitched him. So I think that's what he's going to do.
Yeah, and he'll say, okay, with 2 strikes, he has a tendency that he'll do this to you. If it's a breaking ball or a high fastball, and that just gives you an idea when you stand at that plate. You have an idea of what's coming.
Line drive to left field. Holiday back quickly and makes a leaping catch on the edge of the warning track. But the Blue Jays have tied it up in the bottom of the 3rd. Jose Bautista with a leadoff home run. His 15th of the season. It's a 1-1 game. The 25th anniversary of Rogers Center. Jimmy Key threw out the first pitch to Ernie Whitt. That was the battery in the opening game on June 5th, 1989. And Jimmy Key has joined us in the booth. Jimmy, that looked like your regular fastball there.
That was my fastball, yeah, absolutely.
Jimmy Key made his debut with the Blue Jays in '84, but what do you remember about that first game coming over here when you opened up Rogers Center, Skydome at the time, moving over from Exhibition Stadium?
Well, it felt like a postseason game, like a World Series game. I mean, this place was crazy. Coming out of the exhibition, you know, which is a football field, and we come into this place, and it was exciting. Nobody seen anything like this before, and we were all happy to obviously be over here, and it was fun.
As a pitcher, what was the difference pitching in this park than Exhibition Stadium?
I didn't like this place as a pitcher, to be honest with you, because
Really?
every night was for the hitters, because if it was bad weather, they shut the dome, and so it was good. And if it's nice weather like tonight, the dome's open. Exhibition Stadium, you have a field to pitch to, wind's blowing. I could pitch to right field or left field. Being a controlled pitcher, that's what I needed to do. But here, I never had a field to pitch to.
Okay, now we just saw the first pitch of that. I've been wondering this for 25 years now, and I'm finally going to nail you down. That was Paul Molitor, the first pitch.
Yeah.
It was a curveball. What was
Why
up
not?
with
What's
that?
wrong with that? I started a lot of guys with curveballs. I faced you. Did I ever start you with a curveball?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's look those numbers up there, Scotty. Let's look them up. But why a curveball?
Well, they came over to me before the game, and they said, Paul has agreed to take the first pitch. I'm like, who said that? I said, some guy from Major League Baseball. I said, Paul didn't tell me he's going to take the first pitch. I said, I'm not trusting that. I'm not telling him what I'm throwing, so they wanted me to throw it down the middle. I threw a curveball down the middle. It's a strike, not a problem.
And he was notorious for swinging at the
first ball, fastball guy. I'm not throwing that. Are you crazy?
That's all you needed.
Once a competitor, always a competitor.
I'll be down 1-0 right away. I'm not doing that.
But he eventually got a hit.
He got to hit the next pitch. I was one pitch into it, though.
What was the pitch that he got a hit on?
He got a fastball.
Okay, all right. Well,
which he likes.
Close.
Which he likes.
I know. Well, that answers
Why did I throw it to him? I don't know. Ernie probably called it.
Blame it on Ernie.
Ernie called it.
I like that. I like it.
Two quick outs here in the top of the fourth inning. We're joined in the booth by Jimmy Key, who threw out the ceremonial first pitch to recreate the first pitch of Skydome at the time in 1989. There were a lot of great moments here for you. What was your favorite moment in this ballpark?
Well, it has to be the World Series game in Game 4 that I won against the Braves in '92, which was my last game I pitched for the Blue Jays. That has to be tops. I pitched the All-Star game here and happened to get the win, which, as we all know, is lucky, just being in the inning that you win. But I pitched in that. And then, obviously, the opening game, be able to pitch the opening game here. So I had, 3 pretty good memories here at this stadium. Although I didn't like the stadium.
No, we know you didn't.
As a pitcher. I wish I could hit here, but not as a pitcher.
You really wouldn't like it now, the way the ball's flying out here now.
Let's go back and look at that moment in the World Series and tell me what you were thinking as you threw this last pitch.
Well, I didn't know, obviously my contract was up or whatever, and I didn't know what was going to go on. And, I just wanted to thank the crowd for being, I've been here 9 years, and it's just, it's a great moment to be able to come on. I mean, I could have re-signed here, and the Blue Jays tried to sign me, but it didn't work out. So it was a great memory.
Jimmy Key's going to stay with us another half inning. It's a 1-1 game. We'll go to the bottom of the fourth. you up to date. Everything's going around. And we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of Rogers Center. And Jimmy Key is in the booth with us, and he opened up Rogers Center. And Jimmy, you had so many great memories in this ballpark and so many great teammates, but how special was that 92 team to be able to win that first World Series championship?
Well, it was great for me because I came up with the organization. You know, I got drafted out of college by them and came up with a lot of guys that were on that team through the, through the minor leagues. And, we did make some fill-ins there towards the end, but a lot of those guys came up through the system. And, it was nice to be able to achieve that highest goal, obviously, in baseball with some guys that you played with for a long time.
You made your debut out of the bullpen in '84. Went 3 1/3 in your first game and won the game. That's a little bit different way.
First out was Rod Carew, bases loaded. You don't remember this, but I do. He brings me in, bases loaded, Rod Carew at the plate in Anaheim. First pitch, ground ball to short, double play. I'm out of the inning. I get everybody out the rest of the game. I didn't give up one base runner.
Yeah.
My first 16 guys I faced in the big leagues, I got out.
Is it that easy?
It was easy. I'm like, where's the next league? What the hell? Well, you guys brought me up to pitch in this.
This is nothing.
When do I get promoted?
Why am I relieving? Can I start?
Well, that was Bobby Cox's decision. We figured we'd break in slowly.
Just smart.
Wow. 16 straight, huh?
First hit I gave up was in Toronto. It might have been our opening game in Toronto. I want to say it was Gary Renicky for the Orioles. I think he hit a double left field line off me. It was the first hit I ever gave up.
Where was your first start? Do you remember your first start? Everybody remembers the first start, no?
That's a good question. I don't know. I probably lost it. That's why I forgot it.
That's nice.
You had
well, I started 85.
85 you started.
Yeah. I do remember this. I don't know if it was my first start, but one year, I can't remember, it was 85, 86. I got out. Everybody in spring training never gave up a run. 0 ERA. I opened up in Texas. All my family, everybody from Alabama comes watch it. I don't make it out of the first inning. I give up 5 runs and don't make it out of the first inning, and I haven't given up a run all spring.
Isn't that
is that unbelievable? Is that unbelievable?
Yeah, yeah.
I got to ask you about one particular afternoon at Fenway Park. George Bell was playing left field. Tony Fernandez was playing shortstop. George was having a rough day in left field.
It's probably out too late that night.
And Tony came in to remind you, hey, Jimmy, tell him what he said. He said, hey, Jimmy, make him hit it to right.
Yeah. Well, the funniest story for me with George is back in the old ballpark. I remember at the X, George, before every game, everybody orders out McDonald's, whatever they order. George is eating 2 Big Macs before every game, right? So you couldn't let them hit the ball to George in left field the first 2 innings because he's not ready to go yet, because he's got 2 Big Macs going down. So, I let guys hit the left field. He misses the ball. He comes and yells at me in the dugout. I told you can't let him hit it to me. I'm like, sorry.
That's your fault.
It was my fault. I got to pitch the right field.
Make him hit it to Jesse.
Exactly. Let Jesse Lloyd catch it. Yeah, exactly.
So what are you doing now, Jimmy?
I am playing a little golf.
Oh, I bet.
How
many strokes do I get?
None.
None. That's the same as always.
As always, you get none. I have some kids. My son's 10, starting to play baseball. He's actually in an all-star tournament this weekend. I'm heading back tomorrow to hopefully go watch him play tomorrow night. He's into golf as well. Doing the father stuff, playing with the kids. I have a daughter who's 14. My oldest daughter's 24. And just hanging home,
Do you ever wish to get back into the game? I know you did some broadcasting early.
I had a lot of opportunities, and I still have the last little while.
To get back into the game?
To get back in the game as pitching coach or doing whatever, but I just can't take myself away from my son right now because he's starting to play, and I want to be home with him. And as you guys know, it's travel, and you're never home. You're going to miss all those moments, which you did with your son, Buck. And it's not easy. So I want to be there, and who knows down the road what I'll do. But now I don't want to live this life, as we all lived.
Yeah.
So no, I'm going to stick home for a while.
Good for you. Yeah, you have the opportunity to do that, and it's something that's always valued. 1 out. We're in the bottom of the 4th inning of a 1-run game. Jimmy Key is with us. He threw out the first pitch here tonight. That ball is in center field. It's going to drop in front of John Jay. Ghost will hold up at second. As John Jay broke back, it was a big swing by Reyes, and he got fooled on a big swing.
Yeah, he hit it off the end of the bat, and Jay took about 3 or 4 steps into the gap, watch him in center field, and then realizes that he's not going to get this and tries to deke. Anthony goes at second base, and Reyes will take that one.
Jimmy Key's with us, and I got to ask you about one more game. Final game of the '87 season. You and Frank Tanana.
That was a hard one, yeah.
You guys pitched your hearts out.
Nobody deserved to lose that game, you know. It was a great game. Yeah, it was one mistake by me.
Oh, I don't think you'd call it a mistake.
Well,
1-0 game.
Yeah, well, it was too many that day. You know, some days you'd win 1-0, some days you lose. But that probably might have been the best team I ever played on, to be honest with you. I mean, some of the team in '92, the team in '96 with New York I won with, I don't think was as good as that '87 team. But as we all know, you get hot at the right time, and it just didn't happen for us. You know, that was a great team, though, and so it was a bad way to end it.
You had a lot of things go bad for you down the stretch. Tony broke his elbow, and Ernie hurt his ribs. And
I remember Ernie taking shots in his ribs, trying to play. You know, he wanted to try to play in Detroit, and that was awful seeing that. And that was, you know, he wanted to be out there because, you know, we had a chance to win it all, really. And then we down the stretch, what did we lose our last
7
in a row? Yeah.
Of course,
hard to believe out of all the games we won, we lost our last 7 in a row.
Yeah, as good a team as it was, you caught the Tigers on a hot streak, and unfortunately, Larry Herndon hit a home run, and that was it.
Well, Milwaukee's the one that beat us up. They came in Toronto and beat us up in Toronto.
I know you watch games from time to time, and you're not glued to the television set, but what do you notice about pitching now as compared to when you started your career in the mid-'80s?
The strike zone's too small. You guys want to speed the game up? Let's call strikes.
I'm with you, on that one,
just
Jimmy.
Call strikes. You know, everybody complains how long the games are. They can control that by calling strikes. But I mean, guys are throwing harder now.
Well, this is going to be interesting now. They're going to call Melky Cabrera out on the line drive. Johnny Peralta, in an effort to get the ball to second for an inning-ending double play, dropped the ball, but he had control for the second out.
Line drive. Ghost does a good job of freezing and not running into an out, but that's like the play at second base. If it's in your glove and you secure it and you're in the act of flipping the ball to second base, that's an out. Runners did a good job of freezing.
Jimmy, you mentioned pitchers are throwing harder now. And obviously we went through the steroid era, but in general, what do you think the reason is for that?
I don't know. Guys are bigger now, Buck. I mean, I've been out a while and come around and see these guys. You know, they're big guys. I mean, guys are just, 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", and that has to have something to do with it. But I just think overall the guys are just bigger. And I think they're bigger and stronger, and you throw harder.
Is there anybody in baseball now that you see them playing and you want to go watch them play right now, or pitch or hit?
That Puig guy out in Dodgers.
He's pretty good.
Huh? That guy's like the young Bo Jackson type of guy. I mean, I haven't. Have you guys seen him personally?
Yeah. He's huge.
I mean, he looks like he's fast, and his arm is unbelievable.
Yeah, that
and
guy,
he just flicks at balls and hits them all over the place.
The other guy in Los Angeles is pretty good too. Mike Trout.
Oh, Trout.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, Trout's very good too.
In Florida, did you have a chance to see Jose Fernandez before he got hurt?
I watched him pitch. Yeah, obviously we get the Marlins on all the time. Very dynamic. I mean, unbelievable. Really good. It's so sad to see that. And they got a pretty good hitter there, too, that Stanton kid.
He's not too bad.
How big is he, 6'4"?
Yeah, he's a big guy. He weighs about 235.
I haven't seen him personally, but...
Did you have Tommy John surgery?
No, I did not.
You didn't throw hard enough, did you?
My ligaments are still good. Anybody want them? I could donate my ligaments.
Yeah, there you go.
Mark Burley's never had it either.
Oh, they did. Yeah, and he's throwing a lot of... I mean, this guy throws a lot of innings. Unbelievable. I heard his record the other day has missed a start.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Ever.
How do you not miss a start?
400 and something consecutive.
Yeah, that's amazing.
He's never been on the disabled
innings. He's pitches like 200 innings 13 years in a row or something like that.
You guys are very similar.
That is crazy.
Let me ask you about your 9 years with the Blue Jays. You have a favorite teammate, a guy that you really clicked with as far as baseball and really...
when I first got here, it was, you and Ernie and Doyle Alexander and Jim Acker, my buddies, who kind of got me going and showed me the ropes and taught me what I need to do and whatever. And, I think those are the guys I look back on. The other guys, we have friends from McGriff, and Cecil was here for a while, and Kelly Gruber, and we seemed like we were here a lot together for a long time. And we held a crew here for a while, which I think is why we had success. You see these teams now breaking up a lot. I don't think you have success because you break up too much.
Buck and I were in Minnesota earlier this year and went out to dinner with Jack Morris, and he swears you were the guy who always instigated everything on the bench. Now, is that true, or was it Rance Molyneux?
It was Rance. It wasn't me. And Rance was a good buddy too. No, Jack. No. It was never Jack's fault. Trust me.
Yeah, he was crushing you. He was crushing you, Pee-wee.
That's all right. I'll take it. It's okay.
Jimmy Key, we want to thank you for stopping by and congratulate you on a
Thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it. It's nice to come back up here. It's a great town. I love my 9 years, and it's always great to come back.
All the best to you, and thanks again, and congratulations on throwing out the first pitch tonight. Adam Lind is batting with the bases loaded and 2 outs. 1-1 ball game. Lind with a good cut off the end of the bat.
Well, this is the guy you want at the plate if you're the Blue Jays right here. He's hitting .500 with the bases loaded. And he's got that swing that if Lynn tries to throw that sinker down and away, Adams would have taken to left center field.
Seth Manis is loosening up for the Cardinals. Lance Lynn has thrown 90 pitches. And we're in the 4th inning. 3 2/3, 90 pitches.
Patience. Blue Jays showing some patience at the plate. Still looking for that big hit, though. They have left 6 runners on base.
Had a runner on in each inning. Stranded the bases full in the 1st. Left 2 aboard in the 2nd and 1 in the 3rd. Bases were loaded again. Going to slice foul into the seats. This unselfish approach has really played into the Blue Jays' success. Bautista took another walk, passed the baton to Adam Lind.
Players have talked about that around the batting cage about it. Well, if I don't do it, the guy behind me can, and I'm not going to get away from my strengths and try and force the issue. If he's going to pitch around me, I'll take my walk. I'll let Adam Lind try and drive in a couple.
Ground ball, second base, Descalzo smothers it, and again the Blue Jays strand the bases loaded. We'll go to the 5th. It's a 1-1 game. Now it's time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn. July 15th at Target Field in Minnesota. Help make Jose Bautista, Jose Reyes, Melky Cabrera, and Edwin Encarnacion starters for the American League. Fans are allowed to vote a maximum of 35 times per email address. Vote early, vote often, vote at BlueJays.com. Now, we want you to log on and get these guys those starting roles. Edwin Encarnacion certainly needs to be a starter in that All-Star game with the season he's having. And Melky Cabrera and Jose Bautista, the last update, they were second and third in the outfield voting, but Edwin Encarnacion needs your help. So log online and vote. You can vote 35 times per email address, so let's get it done. One ball game. The hits are even at 5 apiece. The Blue Jays have stranded 9.
Yeah, how about that through 4 innings? They've got them on, but they have not been able to get them in.
There's a fly ball to left. Melky Cabrera coming in a few steps.
Celebrate and save during Home's 50th anniversary sale, only at Home Hardware and Building Center locations. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Marcus Stroman has settled down a bit. He walked the first man he faced tonight. That's the only walk he has issued so far in this ball game. Unfortunately, came around to score. Stroman has 3 strikeouts so far. Oscar Taveras. Taveras has an interesting background. He was born in Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic, but he spent 5 years living in Montreal with his father, 12 to 16 years old. He carries a Canadian passport and has the ability to play for Team Canada in the WBC. That'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You know, the Dominicans, they have a couple of extra players.
Yeah. Even their third stringers are pretty good. He's got a beautiful swing.
Bouncing ball. Laurie is deep in right field. Use that arm strength. 2 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Kinsler hit a home run against the Blue Jays during that series, and when you look at the Tigers lineup, once you get past Victor Martinez, there's not a whole lot of thunder in that lineup like there has been in the past. They certainly missed the presence of Prince Fielder.
Yeah. That was another thing I was talking with Gibby about before the game. You take one guy out of a lineup and how it can change the complexion. How about the Cardinals? No Carlos Beltran this year, and they aren't hitting like they were last year. Boston Red Sox, no Jacoby Ellsbury, and they don't seem to be the same offensive team. And Prince Fielder not hitting behind Miguel Cabrera just shortens that lineup.
Matt Holliday has doubled and was hit by a pitch. You can see that big red spot on his left elbow where he was hit by the pitch in his last at bat. You got to admire him. He's not one of those guys that wears with an elbow pad. He's up there, old-fashioned hardball.
Yeah, a little knot right on his, just below his tricep there, above the elbow.
They thought that was outside.
Let's watch it one more time in super slow motion and watch the ripple effect when it hits them. Watch his muscles. Yowts.
Wow. A lot of energy passing from that baseball onto that arm. 3-1 pitch. Cutter outside. Holliday has been on base 3 times tonight. Second walk issued by Marcus Stroman. Matt Holliday is a .310 career hitter. There are only 12 active 300 hitters in all of baseball. We saw 2 of those during the Tigers series. Miguel Cabrera and Victor Martinez, and now Matt Holliday. one of a very small group of 300 hitters. Alan Craig, he has 2 singles right through the right side of the infield.
I believe on 2 pitches, 2 fastballs. So Stroman starts him off with a breaking ball. Good idea. Brett Lawrie is deep at second base. How deep he is, almost in short right field.
There goes the runner Holiday. The throw to second is in the dirt. Good job by Reyes to knock it down. Holiday, with his second steal of the season, gets himself into scoring position.
That one was stolen off of Marcus Stroman right there. He just forgot about that runner over there, and you can see Holiday just timing him. 1001, 1002, and he steals it easily. Watch him bounce off there. That's a veteran move right there.
He recognized that Stroman was focused on the hitter and just got a walking lead into second. So Craig with another RBI opportunity. Yadier Molina is on deck. Molina is the DH tonight. Breaking ball. Right on the outside corner. Craig strikes out for the first time tonight. Marcus Stroman has 4 strikeouts. Wicked slider. Fools a good hitter. Weekend in Buffalo. It's Saturday, June 21st and Sunday, June 22nd. The Bisons will take on the Rochester Red Wings. There are special appearances by Blue Jays alumni Kelly Gruber and Fred McGriff. Plenty of Blue Jays giveaway. Check out bisons.com for tickets. Opportunity to see Kelly Gruber and Fred McGriff Saturday and Sunday, June 21st and 22nd at Coca-Cola Field in Buffalo. Lance Lind back out for the bottom of the 5th. Edwin Encarnacion had a broken bat single in the 30s, 1 for 2 so far. Off the plate outside.
Blue Jays have been knocking on the door tonight. Just remain patient, and you'll come up with a big hit.
Blue Jays have stranded 9 base runners so far.
What you don't want to do, you know you've had a lot of missed opportunities so far in this game, is become a little bit anxious and start over-swinging or trying to do too much, something you're not capable of. Just stay with your game plan. tell you what, that swing right there, I don't think Edwin's back is hurting him.
No. It was just a problem. It tightened up a bit on him on Wednesday night, came out of the game. Did not play in the afternoon game on Thursday, and he looks fine. Bouncing ball, big hop for Johnny Peralta. He'll take his time, one down. Check in with Jamie Campbell. Baltimore Orioles have closed ground on the Blue Jays. They have leapfrogged over the Yankees. They are currently in second place. They are 30-28, 5.5 games back in the American League East. Wei-Yin Chen is the pitcher on the mound for Baltimore against Tommy Malone. Third baseman Juan Francisco is 0-2. Lynn's still got a lot of run on that fastball. It has got a lot of late life.
He changes speeds with that fastball. We've seen some 89s to 94s. But the Blue Jays have made him work. 100 pitches now in the 5th inning.
Lynn's done a pretty good job of keeping the ball out of the middle of the plate. He mentioned the home run he gave up to Bautista was just the first home run he's allowed in his last 8 starts. The last home run he gave up was on the 24th of April to Chris Young of the Mets. Francisco strikes out for a second time. Now it's time for the play of the game, brought to you by Hungry Man. Try new pulled pork.
First inning, they already have a run on and another runner in. It's Brett Laurie who's going to take a hit away from Yadier Molina with this outstanding play at second base. Saves a run for the Blue Jays. He plays deep, and that's why, to cut that ball off and save a run.
Just outside. You remember early in the season, Brett Laurie was chasing pitches off the plate away especially, but he has zoned in very well.
I think that's because he was thinking about pulling the ball early in the season. Now he's thinking about back through the middle. And when you think back through the middle, not necessarily right field, back through the middle, those pitches you recognize them. You can recognize them if they're off the plate. Doing a much better job of working the count.
Ball is driven deep to center field, and John Jay will watch it go. Home run number 11 for Brett Laurie. That ties his career high.
That was a missile right there. And again, when you're thinking away, you're thinking back through the middle, you keep the front shoulder in, you recognize that pitch away. And on a line, Brett Laurie drills one over the fence in right center field. He had the power in Detroit to go to right field for a big home run, and this one to right field.
Well, he is learning quickly that you don't have to pull the ball to hit it out. 2 outs. Counter Navarro didn't want to. Laurie is so strong, he's just now recognizing his natural strength and understanding if he uses his hands, especially with 2 strikes. What a great swing.
Yeah. 2 strikes, down and away. He stayed right with it. He's got great bat speed, and that's where you get all your power. He created some backspin on that ball, didn't he?
Laurie had 11 home runs in 2012 and 494 at bats. He had 11 last year in 401. This year, coming into this game, he had 208. Bad news for the pitchers. Off the end of the mount. The inning is over, but the Blue Jays, on the strength of Laurie's 11th home run, have taken a 2-1 lead. And here comes the Home Hardware cleanup crew, brought to you by Natura, Home Hardware's exclusive line of safe, environmentally friendly cleaning products. A terrific career. When you look at his career accomplishments, he's a 6th straight Gold Glove winner, 5-time All-Star, 2-time top 5 MVP finishes, and the 2013 Silver Slugger Award winner. He had .319 last year to earn that award, which recognizes the best offensive player at a position.
How about 2 top 5 MVP for a catcher? Pretty good. He's turned into a really good hitter. He's hit .300 the last 3 seasons. Starting to show some power. His last 3 years, 14 homers, 22 homers, and 12 home runs.
Coming into this season, he was a .284 career hitter. Hall of Famer?
Not there yet. The resume, it's filling up, but he's just not there yet. It's pretty good.
Marcus Stroman now with a 2-1 lead. And there's that wicked breaking ball, and Molina strikes out for a second time tonight.
Celebrate and save during Home's 50th anniversary sale, only at Home Hardware and Building Center locations. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
It is the 25th anniversary celebration of our opening of Rogers Center, and that is a cake, and a beautiful one at that. And they even got the roof open. It has been quite a celebration. We were joined in the booth by Jimmy Key, who was a terrific guest. recounting his memories of that first game. He was the starting pitcher. Ernie Witt was the starting catcher for the Blue Jays. There's a little looper, and this is trouble. Going to fall in front of Melky Cabrera. He does a good job of taking the high hop. John Jay with an opposite field 1-out single.
I was looking at, first of all, John Jay, a little inside-out swing, just dumps it right in front of Melky. And now that the Blue Jays have taken the lead, he's not going to take any chances trying to catch that one. Talking about the first game here, and Rogers Center, it was a Sky Dome, couple of firsts. The first complete game was by Jimmy Key.
Jimmy Key was a terrific pitcher, pitched 9 years for the Blue Jays. As a Jay, he had a 116-81 record. He would then go to New York and pitch for the Yankees. He won 48 games for the Yankees, 2 years in Baltimore. He was 3-1 in World Series games.
He was a winner. He was a winner.
John Jay with just 2 stolen bases in 3 attempts this season. Johnny Peralta has hit 9 home runs for the Cardinals. Ball gets away from Navarro, and that's going to move the tying run into scoring position.
Peralta leads the team in grounding into double plays, so it was set up for him. With this ball in the dirt, and Navarro just can't get the glove around to try and block it.
Well, he's got to go down on his knees and block that ball. It's right in front of him, and all you got to do is drop to your knees and keep it in front of you. 2-0, 1 out. Breaking ball starting to come around for Marcus Stroman.
Using it a little bit more now.
Stroman grew up on Long Island, New York, and his mother is here tonight to watch him pitch in the big leagues for the first time. He's looking forward to the next road trip. Blue Jays will go to Baltimore, then to New York to take on the Yankees, and he plans to have a lot of family and friends in attendance. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Cut on and missed. Peralta strikes out. 6 now for Stroman.
He's starting to rack him up. All but one of them swinging. Right here, starting to incorporate that breaking ball and putting it in a good spot. A little bit more now from the 3rd inning on, and that's when he started racking up those strikeouts.
Second baseman Daniel Descalzo after Peralta struck out. Red Cecil starting to loosen up. Things have become much more stable for John Gibbons as far as the starting rotation. Last year he was wondering how he was going to get 4 innings from his bullpen every night. Not the case this year.
Or more. A lot of times more.
First pitch fouled out of play.
But that's true all over baseball. It has been since the beginning of this game. If your starters get you deep into a ball game, you're going to have a great chance to win.
Happ, Burley, and Hutchison on the Blue Jays bench, and they have all had an impact in the Blue Jays' success. Descalzo tried to wait on that breaking ball, and Stroman threw it past him. Marcus Stroman has a wipeout breaking ball, and he has 3 of them.
Curveball, that was really good last time. A slider and a cutter. Good idea. They had started throwing too many breaking balls right there. Started getting breaking ball happy. So just to put something in the minds of those hitters, let's try an outside fastball, and he almost got Descalso to swing at him.
2-2 pitch. John Jay at second. Cut out and missed the fastball. Descalso strikes out. Stroman strikes out the side in the sixth. They're headed to the bottom of the sixth. The Jays are up 2-1. It is the celebration of 25 great years of Rogers Center. First World Series game in Canada played right here at this ballpark, and a lot of great memories and a lot of fans coming tonight. 33,000 fans have shown up for this Friday night game. New pitcher is Seth Manis in relief of Lance Lynn.
23rd game this year for Manis now. Sinker, a little bit of a slider, outstanding changeup, a swing and miss changeup, which is probably his best pitch.
Anthony Gose has triple and reached on an air. He was stranded at third base. He had a 2-out triple in the second. It was his 9th big league triple, first of the season. But in this ballpark, boy, the triples really play.
There's the changeup right there. You can see it. Grab that in his glove. Just wait on it. Got good movement. Anthony, if he can split an outfield gap with his speed, he can hit a lot of triples.
Full count. Gose understands exactly what his role is on this ball club. He's batting in the 9th spot ahead of Jose Reyes, and his assignment, get on base. Slices this one into the seats. Again, Bautista checking in with Kevin Seitzer on Seth Manis.
I like how he walked away there and shaking his head like, okay, I've got a plan.
Right back up the middle. Anthony Gose is aboard. His second hit of the night.
The film event you've been waiting for has finally arrived. Don't miss DreamWorks' How to Train Your Dragon 2 in theaters June 13th.
Anthony Gose at first base has been on base 3 times tonight. He reached on an error in the 4th. It was the first error that the Cardinals have committed on the road in 12 games. They have really played tight defense, but we have seen teams playing on this surface for the first game get caught off guard by the speed of the playing surface.
Yeah, no more artificial surfaces in the National League. So National League team coming in here, if they're not used to it, there's some tricky hops out there.
Tony Cruz is the catcher looking into the dugout for the possibility of a pitch out, throw over. They'll do it again. And again, this is another aspect of the Blue Jays game that has changed dramatically. The threat of a stolen base.
You might get more fastballs. You might get a pitcher splitting his concentration, thinking about that runner.
Reyes drops a bunt, but it's going to be foul. So the National League defenses, like the Cardinals, much more familiar with bunt defenses. It's more common in the National League. Luis Rivera center your screen going through the signs. So they put bunt in Seth Manis's head. I wonder now if they might play hit and run.
He's a good guy to play hit and run against because he throws a lot of strikes, has command.
There's a base hit into center. Ghost rounding second. He'll stop there. Back-to-back singles, nobody out. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Thank you, Jamie. Chase Whitley has done a nice job filling in for the Yankees in the rotation. Of course, they've had devastating injuries to their rotation, losing Pineda, Nova, and CC Sabathia. He is the starter tonight in Kansas City against Jeremy Guthrie. Off the end of the bat, that kicks off the glove of Carpenter, and everybody's safe.
That's what you were talking about right there. There's some tricky hops on this carpet. There's seams. You got to deal with the dirt and then the carpet. It looked like Melky hit this one off the end of the bat, and watch Matt Carpenter try and smother it. He gets it right off the heel. Kicks it away, and that really sets up this inning.
He was going to the bag before he caught the baseball, and then that combination of the hop and the spin on that baseball handcuffed him. It's an error on the third baseman, second error charged to the Cardinals tonight. And that sets the table again for Jose Bautista.
He got the game plan. Let's see if he can execute it.
The Blue Jays have the bases loaded. They strand the bases loaded in the first and in the fourth. Nobody out. Bautista makes pitchers bring it to him. There's a lot to dance about with this Blue Jays ball club. Line drive to second, and this could be a triple play. It is a triple play. John Gibbons is going to come out of the dugout. Anthony Gose said, I scored, but it's a line drive triple play. Gibbons is going to argue that maybe it's skipped.
That's the only thing I think he can talk about here, but that looked like he caught it.
Take a look at the play here. They go to second for the force and then back to first. The umpire at second, Manny Gonzalez, ducked out of the way, and it appeared as though Daniel Descalso caught the line drive. But Gonzalez was dodging the ball, but he called out from the ground. Watch the umpire at second. It goes right over him, but he's looking right at the play. Descalzo shows him the baseball. Gonzalez called out on the play. The ruling on the field is that it is a triple play. Gibbons has asked for the umpires to convene. Field and Colbreth, the first base umpire, is the crew chief. Now, it looked like Colbreth said, I didn't have it on the fly, so it looks like they are going to let the play stand. A triple play, and again, the Blue Jays can't cash in with the bases loaded. Exciting night. Blue Jays have hit a couple more home runs. They've got 89 now on the season. While over in the Jays Care Community Clubhouse are folks from the Boys and Girls Club of Kinston. Welcome to the ballpark. Blue Jays have a 2-1 lead as we head to the 7th. You've seen a little bit of everything tonight.
Yeah. How about a triple play?
2-1 ball game. Marcus Stroman fires the first pitch in there for a strike. Tony Cruz, the catcher, batting 9th. Stroman struck out the side in the 6th. Couple of fastballs as he jumps ahead.
And now they got the Cardinals hitters thinking curveball, and he's crossing them up once again. Now you can bend one off right here.
Ooh, he thought he caught the outside corner. Same spot. Jimmy Kay was with us earlier in the broadcast, and he was talking about the small strike zone. He said that was a surefire formula to speed up the game.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
So do I. Hitters will adjust to that, and so will the pitchers. They'll go up there swinging away.
Breaking ball inside. Tough play for Reyes. He throws on the run. Not in time. Tony Cruz legs it out. Bang, bang at first. Reyes deep in the hole. Threw on the run. Right on the money, but not in time.
Just a hair too late. That breaking ball stayed on the inner half, and he hit it in a perfect spot. Just out of the reach of Francisco. And deep enough that he can leg it out. Reyes did everything he could, but it's an infield hit.
So Marcus Stroman will leave the ball game. Matt Carpenter, a left-handed hitter, is the scheduled batter. Brett Cecil into the ball game. Another good effort by Marcus Stroman, his second big league start. Marcus Stroman goes 6 innings plus a battery, gives up 7 hits. The runner at first base, his responsibility. He walked 2 and struck out 7. Now he turns things over to Brett Cecil.
Cecil worked a couple of days ago in Detroit. 2/3 of an inning in that game with a strikeout. He is called in here to face the left-handed batters that the Cardinals are going to set up there.
Brett threw just 11 pitches in that last outing against the Tigers. That was on Wednesday night. Matt Carpenter. Carpenter is 0 for 2 with a walk. He scored a Cardinal run in the first.
Where's that?
The appeal to third base umpire Jim Reynolds, and he said no swing, but it looked like a strike.
Yeah. Fastball right on the inner half, right where you want it, underneath his hands. And Brett didn't get the call.
Nobody out. Tony Cruz, the catcher, had an infield single to start the inning. Just in case the Cardinals are thinking about hit and run here. They got a good guy at the plate to do that. Matt Carpenter can put the bat on the ball. Upstairs. Carpenter had a 5-hit game on Wednesday. It's the first Cardinal to go 5 for 5 since April of 2000.
Part of that streak where he reached base 10 straight at bats, 10 straight times, 7 for 7 in hits.
Cecil using the fastball and has run the count to 3-1. Brett Cecil got away from his fastball for a while and got curveball happy, but boy, he's used his fastball very well here. Left-handed hitting Oscar Taveras is on deck. Ball 4. So Cecil brought in to face the left-handed Carpenter, loses him for ball 4. So the first 2 reach. Now Oscar Taveras, the rookie right fielder, has gone 0 for 3. A couple of meetings going on here. Jose Oquendo, the third base coach, comes down to home plate to talk to Taveras. Pete Walker will go out to Brett Cecil, try to help him out here. Oquendo, third base coach, delivers the message. He's in his 15th season with the Cardinals. Oquendo calling the base runner over from second. That's Tony Cruz, the catcher. He had an infield single to start the inning.
Taveras has not been up here very long with the Cardinals, so I think they wanted to get the signal straight just in case they wanted to put the bunt on. This would be very interesting if they did put the bunt on. You'd like to have a little bit more speed at second base. If they do.
Well, you can't imagine Oscar Taveras has bunted much in his minor league career. Lind expecting the bunt in at first. Taveras not showing bunt. Big hack and fouls it back. Taveras has been a terrific hitter throughout his career, and you've got to imagine he hit third or fourth most of his minor league career. His minor league numbers, he's a .321 career hitter in 6 minor league seasons. So I don't imagine they asked him to bunt very often.
No. Go ahead and swing away and learn how to hit first.
There's that breaking ball as Cecil jumps ahead 0-2.
He needs a strikeout or a ground ball right here.
Blue Jays have a 2-1 lead. Brett Cecil into the game. Walked the first batter, Matt Carpenter. Oscar Taveras, the right fielder. Now to make sure there's no mix-up, Deandre Navarro will go to the mound. Dustin McGowan, the right-hander. Looks like he is ready, standing by. Matt Holliday is the next batter, and then a right-hander, Alan Craig, follows Holliday.
3 in a row. And that's going to be his job.
0-2, high fly ball into shallow left. Cabrera has plenty of time to get there. He makes the catch. Taveras is retired. Take a look at the Jays' hot streak. We'll go back to April 27th, and they have the best record in baseball. Better than the Giants, better than the A's, better than the Mariners, and better than the Marlins. 26-11 since the end of April. And they have been able to turn that record into a 5.5-game lead in the American League East. They've won 5 straight. Cecil gets Taveras to pop up to the left fielder. John Gibbons is out of the Blue Jays dugout. He's already made the call. Dustin McGowan will come into the ball game. He's got 3 right-handers in a row. Matt Holliday will face Dustin McGowan when we come back. Limited access to over 100 of the world's best magazines on your tablet. Baseball fans, sign up at nextissue.ca/baseball and get an extended 60-day free trial. Dustin McGowan into the ball game. Cardinals have runners at first and second. There's 1 out. McGowan will face Matt Holliday, who's been on base 3 times tonight.
There are McGowan's numbers right there. 16 games, 8 starts, 8 relief appearances for McGowan. In those 8 relief appearances, he's only given up 1 earned run. This is the exact situation that John Gibbons wanted McGowan for when they moved him into the bullpen. A little power towards the end of the ball game.
Matt Holliday. First pitch outside. The Pitch Tracker is brought to you by Acer, official partner of the Toronto Blue Jays. Holliday doubled in the first, hit by a pitch in the third, and walked in the 5th. Been aboard 3 times so far. Drives this to right deep, but that's a slicing and will reach the facing of the second deck foul. Holliday's a terrific RBI hitter. He has 995 career RBIs. His numbers are down this season. But you mentioned the loss of Carlos Beltran, who was in the lineup protecting Holiday in the past. Ball and a strike. Breaking ball off the end of the bat. Laurie will go to second. That's all they'll get. Ball wasn't hit sharply enough to turn 2. Carpenter is erased on the fielder's choice. Cruz moves to third.
Just get an out right here. You're not going to turn 2 on this. Just get an out somewhere. They elect to go to the middle of the diamond and get Carpenter. Yeah, heads up play by Reyes just to hold on to that one.
Alan Craig, 2 singles to right and an RBI single in the first. He's driven in the only Cardinal run. Goes after the first pitch. Big hop for Francisco. McGowan gets out of it. The Cardinals leave a pair. We'll go to the bottom of the 7th. The Blue Jays have a 2-1 lead. Dustin McGowan proving to be a very valuable asset out of the pen. Of the season, he's in to face Adam Lind, and you can see lefties have hit just 125 against Choate. So Choate is in to face Lind. Lind has improved dramatically at the plate this season, and when you really think about it, he's gone back to the hitter he was in 2009.
Because he can handle the off-speed pitch. 396 versus the off-speed average. That's number 1 in the major leagues right now, and he's going to have to do that against Randy Choate because Choate has really owned him in his career. He's going to throw him a lot of breaking balls, so he's got to think left center field.
Lind is 1 for 16 against Randy Choate for his career. Choate, of course, had a lot of time in Tampa Bay, and whenever Lind was in a run-producing situation, more often than not, it'd be Choate that he faced. Bottom of the 7th inning, Blue Jays with a 2-1 lead. Choate is the second reliever the Cardinals have used in the first game of this 3-game series. The Blue Jays got into their bullpen in the 6th. There's a breaking ball, and Lind takes the first pitch strike. Big sweeping breaking ball. We talked about the improvement of Lind. What has he done to improve those numbers against breaking ball?
He's thinking about going the other way, just like he did when he had his big year when he was the Silver Slugger winner. He was thinking left center field. He's becoming a better breaking ball hitter because he's not committing himself too early, thinking about the whole field. You could see that from that right there, that he is thinking breaking ball right there. 86 mile an hour heater fastball, and it surprised him.
Breaking ball outside. Lind has pretty much been in a strict platoon situation this season. Jason Mott, big right-hander, starting to loosen up for the Cardinals. This is just the 18th at bat Lind has had against lefty pitching this year. He's 2 for 17 in his previous at bats. Edwin Encarnacion on deck. This might be a one and done for Randy Choate. 2-2 pitch. Lind had a good rip at that fastball.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, but if he gets Lind, because the Blue Jays are so balanced, you got Encarnacion and then another left-hander behind him. He's a good left-handed situational lefty. I don't know if Mike Matheny is going to burn him for one batter. First game of a series.
That's the challenge a manager faces when the Blue Jays have this lineup. John Gibbons has split up the lefties and righties very effectively.
If he loses him, meaning Lind gets a base hit, then Mike Matheny might say, you know what, I got to take my chances with Mott versus Encarnacion. But if he gets them, then you've got 2 out of the 3 batters being lefties this inning. He might want to stick with them.
The Cardinals have a second left-hander in their pen, but Randy Choate is the late inning left-hander. Jason Mott is ready down in their bullpen. Hard-throwing right-hander. Full count, nobody out. Ball 4, and does a good job to get aboard. Now it's over to Mike Matheny. Contemplating his options here. You're right about burning one pitcher for one batter. It's tough to do late in the game,
especially when you're behind. I think if you're winning and it's the 7th or 8th inning, you might want to do that.
Edwin Encarnacion takes one inside. Edwin has one plate appearance against Choate. He walked. He doesn't have an official at bat. Bouncing ball. Foul. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. This could be 2. Peralta to second. Descalzo back to first. Double play. 2 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Thank you, Jamie. Oakland and Baltimore hooked up in a 3-3 game, and they have made the announcement that Steve Pallison will pinch hit for Juan Francisco, so Matheny stuck with Choate, and now he has the matchup he wanted. So he can go to the bullpen. Choate gets the double play off the bat of Edwin Encarnacion. Pallison was announced into the game as the pinch hitter. Matheny will go to Jason Mott when we come back. 2 outs, bottom of the 7th. Chronicle of the Toronto Blue Jays. Breaking news, photos, videos, and tweets. One-stop shop for everything Blue Jays. Blue Jays Rundown only on sportsnet.ca. And Shai Davidi will keep you up to speed on everything that's going on with the Blue Jays. He's always digging for the hottest story, the latest news, and you can check it out on sportsnet.ca. Jason Mott into the game, his 8th appearance of the season.
Made his debut a couple of weeks ago. His last season with Tommy John surgery. He used to throw hard, fastball slider right now. And Steve Tollefson is forced to face him because Mike Matheny did his homework and knows that John Gibbons likes to use Tollefson late in the ballgame for defense.
Now, he trusted Randy Choate with the Encarnacion at bat. They got a double play. But the Blue Jays have still gone 3 deep into the Cardinals bullpen in the first game of this series. That's another thing that Kevin Seitzer has always emphasized. Let's work hard on that game 1 starter. Get the pitch count up, and we'll get into their bullpen early, and that'll have an impact for the rest of the series.
And they did in the first couple of innings against Lance Lynn. I believe he threw 50 pitches in the first 2 innings.
Steve Tollefson has had some good at-bats, and they're always not hits. Tollefson had a good at-bat on Wednesday night in the 8th inning. He was pinch hitting for Francisco and hit a ball to the right side of the infield and got an RBI on a fielder's choice. They couldn't turn 2, but it was another productive at-bat for Tollefson. This time he strikes out. That'll end the inning. Double play by Choate, played big. Mott ends the inning with a strikeout. Jose Reyes bobblehead giveaway. It'll take place Sunday, June 8th, when the Cardinals and the Blue Jays wrap up this 3-game series. Game time is 1:07 p.m. The first 20,000 fans will receive a Jose Reyes bobblehead. Call the Jays for tickets at 341-1234. That's 416-341-1234. Or log online at BlueJays.com to order your tickets. Jose Reyes likes the bobblehead. You'll like it too. Sunday, June 8th. Steve Tollefson, the pinch hitter, takes over defensively at second. That moves Laurie from second to third. Juan Francisco is out of the game. Yadier Molina goes after the first pitch and fouls it back. Molina's gone 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. How has McGowan's stuff changed since he's moved to the bullpen?
Well, he doesn't have to navigate 3 times through a lineup. John Gibbons will tell him, hey, go out there, give me everything you got for an inning or 2. He can also basically pare down the pitches that he has. As you see Aaron Luke start to warm up, it's basically fastball slider. He doesn't have to worry about a curveball. He doesn't have to worry about a changeup. It's power. Give me what you got for as long as you can.
This is popped up. Reyes, the shortstop, moves underneath, calls for it, and Molina's retired. St. Louis Cardinals come into this game 31-30. They're 5 games back of the Milwaukee Brewers in the NL Central. In their last 11 games, it hasn't been a pretty picture.
Yeah, the problem, I think, is they're just not scoring enough runs. This is a team that's only hit 32 home runs, which is a National League low. They've got the great pitching. They play good defense. They've got a very deep bullpen with a lot of hard throwers. They just have not been able to score the runs like they did last year.
Ground ball, big hop for Reyes behind second, 2 down. Well, the Cardinals are the reigning champs in the National League, and everybody anticipated they'd come right out again. But they lost some key players in the offseason. Carlos Beltran went to the Yankees as a free agent, and they trailed the Brewers by 5 games.
With that pitching staff, though, and the bullpen, they'll figure it out. They've been there before. They know how to win ball games. They got a great manager, Mike Matheny. So that one, by no means, is over. They've got too many good players.
Johnny Peralta, 1 for 3 so far. Cardinals lost to the Red Sox in the World Series. Big cut, Peralta.
And
lost the grip on the bat.
And they signed Peralta to that big free agent contract, wanting a little bit more offense from the shortstop position. He leads the team in home runs this season with 9.
But they've had fall-offs in every other position.
That's right.
High slider for a strike. McGowan came into the ball game with 1 out in the 7th. Took over for Brett Cecil. Got Matt Holliday hit into a fielder's choice, and then the cleanup man Alan Craig grounded out.
Dustin has a good fastball tonight. He has pumped it in there about 96. We've seen a couple of 96s, 95s.
Full count.
97.
Peralta is familiar with Dustin McGowan. He has faced him 5 times. He's 0 for 5. Daniel Descalzo, second baseman, is on deck. 3-2, 2 outs. Off the end of the bat, that squibbed to first base. Lind will go to the bag. McGowan retires the side in order. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. It's a 2-1 game. Now it's time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn. Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car for 16 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Blue Jays, the only team in baseball with 5 players in double digits in home run. Here's one of them, Brett Laurie. This is number 11 on the season, and right now, the difference in this ball game as he drives that ball over the wall in right center field. Home run number 11 for Brett Laurie.
The Blue Jays have stranded 10 base runners tonight, and they have a 2-1 lead. Fastball on the inside corner. Laurie didn't agree with it. Neither does pitch tracker. Over the stretch of 23 games, the Blue Jays have gone 19-4, and they've averaged almost 7 base runners left on base per game. I mean, that's remarkable when you think what could be even maybe an improvement on their 19-4 record. Again, they have stranded 10 in this game, and they have a 2-1 lead.
And they have averaged about 6 runs a game over that period also.
Brett Laurie is on fire. Beautiful stroke, leadoff single off Jason Mott. Laurie's 2 for 4 tonight with a home run.
He too. The game plan is back through the middle. And that's a nice short swing. He's got such strong hands that he can whip that bat through the strike zone. Another leadoff batter for the Blue Jays.
Laurie's average up to 245.
They have had a leadoff batter get on in the 1st, in the 6th, in the 7th, in the 8th. They've had runners on all night.
Down to Navarro. That's showing bunt, takes his strike. Blue Jays have scored 2 runs on 2 solo home runs. Jose Bautista homered in the 3rd. Brett Laurie in the 5th. Cardinals run came in the 1st. Blue Jays trying to extend their win streak to 6 straight. One and 2 to Navarro.
Mott's a former closer, so having runners on base doesn't faze him at all. He's got a good fastball.
Mott thought that was a strike. Just off the plate outside. Mott's 31 years old. He saved 42 games for the Cardinals in 2012. He missed the 13th season with Tommy John surgery. Pulled foul. The Blue Jays have grounded into a double play and lined into a triple play tonight. Jose Bautista lined into a triple play with the bases loaded in the 6th. It was just the 7th time Blue Jays hitter has hit into a triple play. It was a line drive to the second baseman. Descalza went to second to Peralta, who made the return throw to first to get the triple play. Full count. Navarro doesn't strike out much, so I wouldn't be surprised if Laurie is on the move. Ghost will be next. Full count, nobody out. Laurie's got to make sure they go to the plate. There he goes. And it's a base hit to right. Laurie steps on second. He's headed for third. Taveras gets the ball back in. Navarro delivers on the 3-2 pitch.
You know, that was a great call right there. You start the runner, you stay out of the double play. Navarro, you're right, he doesn't strike out a lot, so you're hoping he makes contact. The bonus is they find the hole. And Brett Laurie can cruise right into third base. High fastball. Navarro does a good job of getting on top of that one. And he'll get pinch run for it here.
Kevin Pillar comes off the bench to run for Navarro. Another example of John Gibbons utilizing everybody on his roster. Navarro picks up his first hit of the night. Pillar with good speed. Pinch runs at first, and Cardinals are going to talk this one over. Boy, the Blue Jays got a lot of options here. Anthony Gose has become a pretty good bunter.
He's also become a pretty good hitter as this ball away from him. And with his speed, if he can get the ball between the outfielders, he can leg it out easily as he makes this triple. His trek around the bases easily, really without a throw. But you're right, there are a lot of options for Gose and the Blue Jays.
Yeah, with nobody out, you've got good speed at third and Laurie, good speed at first. We know about duck, duck, goose. But if Gose can bunt it up either line, they can play a safety squeeze situation. Not showing bunt, and he takes a strike. The reason you might do that, man, it's changed now because the Cardinals are coming home. They've taken themselves out of a double play situation.
And if there is a ground ball, if you're Brett Laurie, you don't have to go.
Strike two. Anthony just 214 and limited bats with runners in scoring position. Oh, 0-2. Upstairs. Reyes is on deck, and you're right. Unless it's a chopped ball off home plate, anything on the infield, you'd think that Laurie will stay put at third.
Yeah, you don't want to run into an out. Then you've got runners at first and second and one out instead of a runner at third base. And less than 2 outs. Carlos Martinez now warming up.
Way outside. 2-2.
With the middle infield in, if there's a ground ball to the second baseman or the shortstop, I don't know if they're going to be able to turn it.
No, I don't think they're going for 2. Now Peralta has backed up slightly. Gose chases a pitch off the plate outside and strikes out. Second strikeout for Mott since he came into the ball game.
That's a running fastball. He missed his spot. He wanted to go in. You can see the catcher set up on the inner half, and that ball ran all the way off the plate. And Anthony comes up empty on that one.
Jose Reyes has had a great night at the plate. He has walked twice and singled twice, 2 for 2. Both singles sharply hit to center. Out in front of that hot fastball. Casey Jansen with 2 saves in the Tigers series. Boy, another good take by Reyes. He's seen the ball well all night long.
Yes, he has. He's walked into first, walked into second, singled in the fourth, and singled again in the 6th inning. And those borderline pitches, he's just watched them go by.
Reyes trying to force Mott over the plate. Kevin Pillar has to make sure they don't tag him out.
Yeah, if there's a ground ball to the second baseman, Del Scasso, just stop it. Getting a rundown. And allow Brett Lawrie to try and score from third base. The second baseman is right in the baseline. These are all the things you start to think about if you're a runner on the bases right now. What could happen? Fly ball, am I going to tag? Line drive, don't get doubled off. Ground ball to the second baseman, don't let him tag me.
Lots of communication going on. Cruz, the catcher, out to talk to Mott. Leeper was checking in with Pillar, the pinch runner at first. First base coach Tim Leeper reminding him of all the scenarios. 2-2. Now full. Melky Cabrera, another switch hitter.
They're not holding him on at first base.
You can start the runner here.
Yeah.
Both infielders are drawn in away from the bag at second. There goes the runner, and Reyes fouls it off. That's the right move. Start that runner. Because if there is a ground ball, they're not going to go for two anyway.
Nope.
And if you hit a ball in the gap, he might score from first.
And it's almost like they're giving him second base. Not holding the runner on at first. Lots of scenarios to go over.
There he goes. Base hit into right field. Laurie's in to score. Pillar's headed for third, and they'll cut it off. Reyes with an RBI single.
And by starting that runner, Pillar goes all the way to third base. They don't start that runner. He's standing out at second. Good move.
Reyes, a perfect 3-for-3 night. The Blue Jays will get deeper into the Cardinals' pen. A great swing on a 3-2 pitch to knock in Brett Lawrie.
That's how you cover the plate. 2 strikes, cover the plate, somehow get that run in, and Reyes delivers.
Mott is out. Martinez is in. Melky Cabrera will bat when we come back. Experience and baseball IQ. Blue Jays baseball all season long, only on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Joe Siddle was filling in for my partner Pat Tampa over the last 2 series, and he is back with Jerry Howard in the booth. The 4th Cardinals reliever to work tonight is Carlos Martinez.
Another one of those young, hard-throwing pitchers that the Cardinals have developed out of their organization. Just 23 years old, Carlos Martinez got that four-seam fastball, can run it up there in the upper 90s with some good cutting action on it. A strikeout pitcher.
The infield is still halfway. Pilar at third, Reyes at first. Melky Cabrera lays off the first pitch outside. Cabrera singled in his first at bat. He is 1 for 4. There goes Reyes. The pitch is taken. There'll be no play. Reyes steals second, uncontested.
They were giving him that, so you got to take it. Stay out of the double play.
12th steal for Reyes. 2 men in scoring position for the Jays.
You can see they're not holding Jose on, and he makes it easily.
Blue Jays have a 3-1 lead. Chopping ball. Here comes Pilar to the plate, and he is tagged out. They're playing contact, and the ball bounced to the second baseman. Pilar is thrown out. Reyes goes to third. That's the second out of the inning.
You do this after the stolen base. You play contact. You try and steal a run right there. As you can see, it throws the tag on it. Say, well, why you do that? After the stolen base, you still have another runner at third base.
Take a shot. Yep.
You take a shot, maybe the throw's off target, and he makes it easily.
Put the pressure on them to play catch. Jose Bautista. Deep drive to left field. Stay fair. Just foul. It hooked just outside as Bautista jumped on that first pitch. He homered in the third.
Well, that's being ready for the number one right there. Just foul.
Bautista hit his 15th back in the third inning. Bouncing ball, tough hop for Carpenter. They go to second. The inning is over, but the Blue Jays get a big insurance run. Jose Reyes with the RBI single in the 8th. Casey Jansen in looking for the save. 3-1 Jays. Channels on Pacific More Baseball. The Chicago White Sox are in LA to take on the Angels. Chicago 2.5 games back of the Detroit Tigers in the Central. Casey Jansen picked up 2 saves in Detroit on 4 pitches.
3-pitch strikeout and then a fly ball yesterday on the first pitch. There was only 2 such saves in the majors last year, and the Blue Jays were involved in all of them, where there was a 1-pitch save. Steve Delabar got one July 10th at Cleveland, and Jim Johnson versus the Blue Jays. Defensive changes for the Blue Jays. Eric Kratz has come in to catch, and Kevin Pillar stays in the ballgame in left field.
John Gibbons has his best defensive alignment in the game. Tallison entered the game as a pinch hitter. He's now at second. Lowry's at third. Pillar in left, and Kratz behind the plate. Casey Jansen has been a strike-throwing machine. He picked up the save, getting Nick Castellanos yesterday on 1 pitch. Strikes out Descalzo. Now it's time for a preview of what's coming up next on Connected. Here's Ivanka Osmak and Brenda Dunlop. Thank you, Brendan. That'll be coming up right after this ball game. And there'll be lots of news around baseball. Tony Cruz had an infield hit his last time up. The catcher goes after the first pitch. The Blue Jays bullpen has sorted things out with the return of Casey Jansen into the closer's role.
Everybody can go back into those familiar slots where they were so successful last year. And the bullpen has really settled down.
Casey Jansen has 10 saves and 11 opportunities so far this season. He is tied with B.J. Ryan for the 4th spot in franchise history. They both have 75 career saves. Billy Koch is next with 100. Tom Henke is the all-time franchise leader in saves with 217. Dwayne Ward, 121. Casey Jansen would move into sole possession of 4th place with a save tonight. Fly ball down the right field line. Bautista over. He's got room. He missed it. Got right to the wall. And now he's asking, hey, I'm on the field. The fan was over the field and looked like the fan was reaching for it. And he said, let's look at the replay on that. John Gibbons is out of the Blue Jays dugout.
You know what? You don't see Jose Bautista miss balls like that. The ball was clearly on the field of play. He was saying that somebody hit his glove.
Well, we have seen this all too frequently where the Blue Jay fans reach up, and that fan is clearly over the field of play.
What are you doing? Let him catch the ball. That's interference.
It's a little kid that got excited about the chance to catch a foul ball, and Bautista clearly had a chance to make a catch on that.
If it's in the stands, it's for the fans. If it's on the field of play,
yeah.
Come on.
And Bautista is explaining to Anthony Gose the fan hit his glove as he was about ready to make the catch. He had room to make the catch. So the play on the field is no play, foul ball. So they are checking with New York now. Fielding Culbreth is the crew chief. He's the first base umpire. Jim Reynolds is the third base umpire. He's the second most senior umpire on his crew, so they're listening to New York as the play is under review.
Let's watch it one more time. You can see the ball's clearly going to be in play, and the fan reached over and hit Jose. I mean, Jose doesn't miss that ball. He had it all the way. You can see he's tracking it.
This is really interesting. Of course, the Blue Jays are at home. The home fan interfered with Bautista, and he was pleading his case to Fielding Culbreth, the first base umpire, who is indeed the crew chief. So now you get into the situation where the ruling on the field is no fan interference, so Tony Cruz just hits a foul ball. And if they overturn this play, it'll be the second out of the inning. And Bautista again explaining what happened. And he got to it. He was there to make the catch.
And the difference is if the ball is going to be on the field or in the stands.
Yeah.
And it looked clearly like the ball was going to be on the field.
The ruling is overturned.
All right, let that be a lesson.
Mike Matheny at the top step of the dugout. He has no argument. Once the play goes to New York, it's out of the umpiring crew's hands here at the ballpark. 2 down. These are the fans where the fan interfered. That young guy said, okay, I can hang out here at Rogers Center again. 2 down. Matt Carpenter, the leadoff man, takes his strike.
Jansen has been able to handle the lefties by backdooring that cutter. He'll also drop that curveball on him at times.
33,528. Got it. Foul ball.
There was that curveball right there. It's a timing issue. He'll pump fastball, cutter, and then pull the string with that curveball. Really throw the timing off on that hitter. Matt Carpenter, who's been hot, just gets a piece of it. Come on. What a pitch. The fans wanted it.
2 balls and 2 strikes, 2 outs. Blue Jays have a 3-1 lead. Carpenter's a tough out.
Yes, he is. Again, he has raised his batting average 50 points in the last 18 games.
Blue Jays bullpen has not allowed a hit. Fly ball. Pilar calls for it. He's there. Ball game. Casey Jansen picks up his 11th save of the season. The Blue Jays get 2 more home runs. They've hit 89 and take the opener of the 3-game series against the Cardinals.
They have base runners on in every inning tonight, but they come up with the clutch hits when they needed it. And how about the throw by Jose Bautista in the first inning to get that runner at the plate? Jose plays a great outfield. Blue Jays do it again offensively with 11 hits.
Marcus Stroman picks up his 2nd win as his many starts. He's 3-0 on the season. We'll do it again tomorrow afternoon. Connected coming up on East Ontario and West. More baseball on Pacific. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon.